Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. If we could all please take our seats. Ladies and gentlemen, you're very welcome. To start proceedings for the afternoon, I'd like to introduce someone with an exquisite voice who will lead us with the national anthem. She's a multi-talented individual. And when I say that not lightly at all. She's an actor, she's a singer, she's a host, she's a compere, she's a comedian, she's an influencer. She is Bisola Ayeola.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Please can we rise for the national anthem? Thank you. Arise, O compatriots, Nigeria's call obey, to serve our fatherland with love and strength and faith. The labor of our heroes past shall never be in vain. To serve with heart and might, one nation bound in freedom, peace and unity. The pledge. I pledge to Nigeria, my country, to be faithful, loyal, and honest, to serve her with all my strength, and uphold. So help me, God. Sorry about that. The nerves.
Thank you very much, Bisola Ayeola. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon once again. Thank you, and you're very welcome to our warm invitation to the Business Forward lunch with His Excellency Bola Ahmed Tinubu. My name is Tefa Tiligiado. I am one of your co-hosts for the afternoon, and we intend to make this as open a dialogue as possible. This is not a political rally. It's not a political town hall. It's a conversation between friends, between like minds, between progressive and well-meaning Nigerians. We happen to have the singular honor of having His Excellency, the presidential candidate of the All Progressives Congress, here with us. But it's really just to get to know ourselves a bit better over the next couple of hours. And as I said, tell us some of the things on our mind and figure out how best we can work together going forward. His Excellency, you're very welcome, sir. I must also acknowledge Mr. Governor, the Governor of Lagos State, Mr. Babajide Sanwo-Olu. You're very welcome, sir. Thank you for your time today. I acknowledge Haja Hadiza Bala Usman, who is usually to be seen with the presidential candidates. Once you see Hadiza, you've seen APC. Malam Nuhu Ribadu, you're very welcome, sir. Mr. Wale Tinubu, good afternoon and welcome. Mr. Dimeji Bankole, you're very welcome, sir. Mr. Dele Alake, you're welcome. Mr. Yemi Cardoso, you're also welcome. And Mr. Ismail Mohammed, you're very welcome, and thank you for honoring our invitation. It will be impossible to acknowledge everyone. Every single person here is a dignitary in their own rights, but in the interest of time, please, we crave your indulgence, to stand on all protocols for all conversations going forward. Thank you very much. Like I said, we're going to keep you here for less than 2 hours. The agenda, just to run very quickly, is a couple of addresses from the conveners of the event, Business Forward. We'll also hear from Mr. Governor at some point. And then largely we're going to throw the floor open to you, the business community, entrepreneurs, to hear about some of the things that are going on in your business. And then we'll also finally hear from His Excellency Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Here to co-host with me and to assist is a far more attractive host and a far more capable one. Please welcome Mimi Onalaja.
Thank you so much, Tefa. It's such an honor to be doing this with a distinguished orator. Like he said, my name is Mimi Onalaja, and it's an honor to be your co-host here today. Tefa has already run us through what this event is going to entail, but I just wanted to shed some light on Business Forward. It is an initiative that has been put together by a group of distinguished business professionals with the aim of fostering a healthier business landscape in Nigeria. Now, we're gathered here this afternoon to, of course, have lunch. We're going to be wining and dining together. We're going to be networking, but more importantly, we're going to be having distinguished and crucial conversations with our special guest, His Excellency Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu. At this point, I'd like to crave your indulgence and ask that we please rise and put our hands together very, very loudly and give a special warm welcome to our special guest. Can we please do that together? Can we please rise and put our hands together? Thank you very much. I think this is the first indication that we have an incredible audience here today. So thank you for your cooperation. And I mean, we crave your indulgence and we ask that we keep it going up until the end of this event this afternoon. Now, without talking too much, like Tefa said, we're trying to wrap this up as quickly as possible. We're going to get right into it. And opening this event proper, we're going to be hearing from one of the conveners of this event. Now, he is a lawyer with extensive experience in public service and media. Can we please put our hands together for one of those vibrant young professional minds I mentioned earlier, Oluwaseun Faleye? Can we put our hands together for him, please?
Good afternoon, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. Welcome, Your Excellency Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and I recognize the presence of the governor. And I stand on the established protocol by TIFA. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the conveners of this event, it's my pleasure to welcome you to this gathering. This gathering I consider to be the first of many more very important and collaborative engagements that will be taking place, hopefully going forward. Today's session, for all intents and purposes, should serve as an intellectual engagement between politics and business, setting the stage for what should be a sustainable collaboration between the public sector and the private sector for the collective benefit in the form of accelerated growth for Nigerian economy. I'm particularly delighted with the cross-section of attendees here this afternoon because they represent a broad section of our business community, men and women that are the bloodstream of our economy. Represented here today are dynamic individuals playing leading roles in key economic sectors such as healthcare, insurance, legal, mining, and solid minerals, construction and housing, entertainment, technology space, finance, education, oil and gas, power and energy, infrastructural development and finance, sports, creative industry, amongst others. Therefore, it is in recognition of that strategic importance of your respective roles as catalysts for gainful job creation and exponential economic growth that we've gathered here today. With all sense of responsibility and modesty, I state that from the perspective of the conveners of this event, even though we're part of you as leading professionals in the private sector, we are first and foremost, as it is our right, proud members of the All Progressive Congress, And we're equally proud to undertake endeavors to further and facilitate the success of our party at the forthcoming elections because of our unyielding belief in the capacity and the capability of our party through its flag bearer to lead Nigeria into a path towards sustainable growth. As you may be aware, some of the conveners have had the privilege and honor of serving in the public service. And in that sector, it is our experience has shown the need for constant engagement with the private sector to better understand the operational realities of their environment in order to facilitate and formulate policies that will foster and enhance their growth. Our party, the All Progressive Congress, and its presidential candidate, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, has put before you and all Nigerians its action plan for the sustainable growth of this country. Whilst we believe that those plans are robust and detailed enough to address the key issues and challenges that we face as a country in the areas of security, economy, agriculture, education, healthcare, infrastructure, sports, and other different sectors of our national life, we are mindful of the fact that they may not represent the exhaustive solutions to all of those issues that we're to deal with. It is for this reason, and to begin a process of policy formulation that we believe should put business at the core center under the leadership of Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, that we're taking the liberty to share with you prior to this event the action plan of the standard bearer for your consideration, review, and as it relates to your various interest and operation and area of operation and competencies. Consequently, what we therefore expect from you here today is a feedback and your input. Your feedback on our ideas and plans, and your input to enrich our policy horizon, given the vantage positions that you all occupy as leaders in your respective sectors. It is our desire, excuse me. It is our desire that you'll be forthcoming in your input, you'll be forthcoming in your ideas, so that we can all extensively deliberate and enjoy the camaraderie that exists between us. We hope that you'll be very detailed in your presentation and concise in the sort of advice and ideas that you give. We have here a secretariat with us that we hope will put all of those ideas together and share with the presidential candidate at the end of this session. We've been assured, and we will get the commitment of the President, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, the flag bearer of the party, to really put some of these ideas into practice and into consideration at the right time. So we wish you very fruitful deliberation, and we look forward to hearing from you as various business leaders in your respective roles. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Another round of applause for Mr. Oluwaseun Faleye, please. Thank you. One of the things which Sean was perhaps a little too shy to mention is that this event has been put together without any funding from the candidates, from the political party. It is essentially a buy-in, a statement of intent that young people, young business-minded people, have read the manifesto, the action plan for the party, they've digested it, and they thought it was worthy to get together in this fashion. They've done that entirely through their own pockets, through their own initiation. So I think this is something which we should acknowledge. Our next speaker needs very little introduction. We are currently all enjoying the dividends of continuity in Lagos State. One of the beautiful things about continuity is that it allows the work of a building block to develop into a mansion. And where Asiwaju started and couldn't finish, Fashola continued, and the work has continued with our next speaker. Congratulations, first of all, sir, on the blue line. That is a big one. And it's just one of the tenets of the policy plan, infrastructure, the importance of that, the entire value chain that it represents, and the beauty of this gathering is that we're able to hear from Mr. Governor himself, about some of the things he has learned, hopefully, from as he too is running for office for a second term. So without further ado, it's my great pleasure and honor to introduce and invite to the stage Mr. Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu.
Very much. Thank you. I want the mic as well because I really don't like to be stationed. My leader, our presidential candidate, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, through you, let me extend courtesies to everyone here that have taken out time this very important Thursday afternoon to come and have a chat, contribute and listen to our presidential flag bearer. I know what it is, how important every of your time is, but I can assure you that it will be a 1 hour, 1.5 hour well spent, because indeed, I'm expecting that the conversation coming out of here this afternoon will certainly enrich all of us. So about 20 years ago, I'll just say my own story. Yeah, so about 20 years ago, actually 20 years last month, in 2002, I was sitting in my own corner office in Victoria Island as a general manager in a bank. Well enough, I can afford to buy Duchamp ties. I can send my kids, to one of the best schools in Lagos, Green Springs, and all of it. And I had a cat-eyes Mercedes-Benz. If people that know, if you are old enough, you know which one is the cat-eyes Mercedes-Benz. Not the, you have nicer ones there, but we call it Ojo Polo then. Mercedes-Benz, and I was 37, right? And I had a unique, rare privilege of my life. This man asked me to join his cabinet at that time. Of course, we were all complainers. This was the first era of democracy coming in 1999. So it was very convenient for all of us to throw all the negative things, why things are not working and the rest of it. And at 37, what do I really need? Why should I care, right? But I took the plunge. I took the risk, and I said, okay, let's all stop complaining, and let me just see if indeed I can use my contact as a treasurer, as an investment banker, right, to see how I will change the course. And since then, my decision at that time, 20 years from now, right, has been the defining moment of my life. And why do I need to, thank you, why do I need to take it back like this? Because indeed, all of the things that I have learned, that I have seen, that I've come to realize in life, it starts with just taking a step. Taking a step in this room to have a conversation, to say what all of us might not need to be in public space. We don't have to go into public service, but we can have a voice, we can be strategic partners, we can be critical stakeholder in which we will help influence conversations, policies, programs that will be coming out from that public sector, so that as a business person, I will be able to fashion my decisions clearer, I will be able to intervene when the time comes, and I will grow a bigger pie. And at the end of the day, it will be a win-win situation, because my business will grow, because I'm a stakeholder, and I continue to, have my own dotted line of interventions there, and I watch them, and I can hold them accountable, and I can hold them responsive at all times. That's the kind of conversation I'm looking forward to, and that's one of the things that I want to explain to us, that for me as a person, in the last 20 years, it's been, forever continue to cherish. But one thing that I would just want to show you is because the MC mentioned about the rail line yesterday. And if I have it on, please, can you just play that 1 minute? And you see how life just clicks in. I don't have a speech. I don't know what the event is going to turn, but I'll show you a video now. Listen to this man, just for 1 minute. Please, can we have the audio?
Our mass transit program is on course. The metro line is being discussed already. We have attracted the interest of World Bank once again. We think we are evaluating between the light rail that is less disruptive and destructive to the right of way. We are looking at this corridor of the existing railway track to, really, according to the study already conducted by the war bank to take off from west to east and south to north. And then we can now support some other areas either with metro, mass, or transit system.
Thank you.
That is a program that we must embark on.
Thank you. I think this is organic. I didn't plan it. I didn't know it was going to be a conversation. But I can tell you, 20 years ago, I was in that unique opportunity. We set up that first-in-class, a quasi-public sector office called Lamata, which was his brainchild, which I had the opportunity as a young man to help create and formulate at that time. And the success that everybody is saying, a blue line, a red line, Mr. Governor today, which I take, right, bathed with an idea of our flag bearer way back there. And I think there are no better storytelling. There are no better time for us to see and for us to know that it's the power of visioning, it's the power of can-do spirit, it's the audacity for people to think, to dream, and to have the courage to be able to take it forward. I, at some point in time, traveled 16 countries in less than 18 months under his watch. So when you say governor, just 16 countries in 18 months under his, I went around everything that did not even concern me. It was usually myself and Mr. Cardoso, but it was my senior there. Right? And why am I saying this? Given the age brackets that are in this room, it's another call on all of us to see things differently. I'm not here to talk about the fact that, my principal is the strongest person on earth and that he doesn't have a challenge. We all do. And that he doesn't, with all due respect, let me just, with all very due respect, Dr. Bob was one of the fittest individuals in the world that anybody can imagine. But hey, 2 weeks ago, God called him. And that's the end of his tenure. And several others in which we can make examples on. So it's not about health. It's not about the fact that you wanted to call APC, you call PDP. It's about what your acumen is. It's about the ability to be able to put together a team and a resource of people that will change the course of this country positively. It's about having that leader that can think and that can identify skills and that can audaciously tell you, take it, go ahead, and beside you and behind you, and I'll work with you. That's all we're talking about. That's what leadership is. That's what the power of visioning is. And that's why I just want us to know that for my own story and for the story of all of you here, don't say that I'm not a senator, I'm not in public service. Even in your own CEO space, you need intervention of government in one correct mood or the other. And that's why you are a stakeholder. And that's why you have a leg in the room. And that's why you have a space on the table. And that's why I want you to take this opportunity very, very seriously. And I know that at the end of the day, it will be a win-win situation. Thank you very much.
Please, another resounding round of applause to Mr. Governor. Thank you very much for those insights.
I believe Mr. Governor has set the tone very nicely for our next segment, because it's time for us to have those crucial conversations that we have mentioned a few times here today. There's so much stronger together, and we can go so much further when we collaborate, when we share, and when we learn together. And that is exactly what we intend to do this afternoon. Now, we're going to be hearing from each other. We're going to be hearing from various sectorial leads in this room. We have about 30 minutes for this session, so we'd like to encourage everyone that speaks to please keep it as brief as possible. I know that it's hard when you're speaking from a place of experience and a place of passion, but please, we'd like to encourage you to keep it within 3 to 5 minutes each so that we can hear from as many people as possible and we can wrap up as quickly as we intend to. So I know that there's a microphone going around the room. Yes, so we have a microphone going around the room. So if you can please indicate, there's so many business sectors represented in this room. I know that there's oil and gas in this room, there's architecture, there's construction. Okay, we have one person over here that would like to share. Want to encourage you to please introduce yourself, tell us your name, tell us what you do, and just go on and share your experience with us.
Okay, so I think to add to that, just for the sake of efficiency, we would like whoever wants to make any contribution, in 2 or 3 minutes, if you could just indicate with your hand, and then we'll just arrange everyone, to come on stage, so that one after the other they're able to make their submission and then move on. So, by a show of your hands, if you'd like to start off this conversation, please. Okay.
We have one person. The first hand that was up is over here.
Please come up to the stage. Thank you. 2.
Can we please give them a round of applause as they
Mr.
come
John.
up?
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and our great host. My name is Yemi Oshindero. I'm the managing partner and CEO of Uhuru Investment Partners. We're a private equity fund, so we look to bring foreign capital to invest into companies here in Nigeria and the rest of the West African region. And I think my question is, as we're planning, we all know some of the difficulties that there are with regards to the exchange rate and, the state of the economy, the ability to get capital out of Nigeria, which has been a challenge for us as we've gone around talking to foreigners to bring money into Nigeria. And I've gone through the manifesto, and I think the general direction is, it's in the right direction. We can see where it's going. I had some questions around the intention with regards to the exchange rate mechanism and how that will work. There's some discussion there about recognizing the fact that we cannot just equalize sort of parallel, official, NAFEX and all the other different rates that they are out there. But it will be useful to know what's the intention in terms of that exchange rate mechanism specifically, and the ability for investors to be able to take money out. Because I think once you can unlock that roadblock and enable people to take money out, then there will be much more money coming into the country. And the situation we've had over the past few years where, foreign direct investors are struggling to bring money into Nigeria will be eased. So we'd just be curious to understand more about that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Mr. Yemi. I just want to point out quickly, we're all thought leaders, we're all business leaders. And I would like to encourage us also to use this opportunity to proffer solutions rather than asking questions, thank you. So if I could invite the next person, please. And please just a brief introduction, your line of expertise, etc. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Tola Talabi. I am the Chief Executive of Electron Energy. We're a power and gas infrastructure company. We currently build IPPs and related gas infrastructure. I've studied the manifesto that's been put forward, and I would say it's very exciting for the power sector. What I would like to say is that your administration started a project to introduce the power badge into Lagos to directly inject power into the Lagos area. This strategy and policy is actually the most compelling way to ensure that there is stable and reliable power in Nigeria, at least within viable markets, which will then allow the rest of the country to receive more subsidized power. So in addition to the focus that your administration plans to have from the manifesto on renewable power, rural electrification, I would like to ask that you double down on that policy that didn't work out because the center didn't support it when you come into power as our next president, hopefully, to allow for policies that are friendly with embedded generation. That is the way forward. That is what will drive the industrialization of our country. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Tola Talabi. I'll ask someone from this side now, please, thank you. Dr. Ola Brown.
Good afternoon, Your Excellency. My name is Dr. Ola Brown, and I'm a healthcare investor. I formerly ran a healthcare company. I now work in finance. And I'm going to focus on solutions because I think that that's the most important thing. And whenever I'm talking about investment in healthcare, I always say that the richest, smartest man in Nigeria raised $25 billion, and he didn't put it into healthcare. He put it into a refinery because that's the business where he felt that he would get the highest return when he raised that amount of money. So I wanted to talk about ideas that would make the healthcare sector investable and bankable for investors. So the next time somebody raises $25 billion, they'll put it into our healthcare system. So the first issue, and the biggest issue, is ability to pay for healthcare. And if you look at any country that has achieved universal health care for every single person in the country, there has been some kind of government investment in health care. In America, $9,000 per person is spent on health care. In Norway, $7,000 per person is spent on health care. In the UK, $4,000 per person is spent on health care. In Nigeria, currently, according to only federal government, $6 is spent on healthcare. So there's a huge demand problem. The reason why the refinery is such a good business is because there's demand for PMS. The reason why oil and gas is such a good business is there's a demand for oil, there's a demand for crude globally. And the reason why healthcare is a relatively bad business right now in Nigeria is even though people are dying, the cost of healthcare, of provision of the service, is higher than what the average Nigerian can afford. And even in the UK, when I worked there, I didn't actually understand how much was spent on healthcare. But the total budget for healthcare in the UK for 60 million people is $250 billion. Our entire healthcare budget in Nigeria would finish in 2 days in the UK. So what can we do? I believe that the other things, like cheap fuel, like cheap fertilizer, like cheap power, but not the very sector that keeps us all alive and healthy. The NHS is not only a healthcare system, it's also the biggest employer in the EU. So if we invest in healthcare, we're not only solving a healthcare problem, but we're actually solving an employment problem. Because healthcare, if you look at every single state in America, it's also the biggest employer in almost every single state. It's the biggest employer in the UK. It's the biggest employer in India. So if we can solve a healthcare problem, we solve an employment problem. And if we can solve the employment problem, then we solve our security problems. So, Your Excellency, I would like to talk about investment in healthcare from the budget, but also from some of the sources where we get the money to subsidize all the things that we currently subsidize. So looking at a phone tax on people that speak on the phone so that we can take out of their airtime as they are speaking, that's one solution, and put into an insurance pool. The other solution would be looking at some of our mega projects, so looking at the dividends from the oil and gas industry, looking at some of our mega projects like dividends from LNG, and diverting them directly into a healthcare pool that takes care of people. Another issue, another way, a source of revenue is, honestly, our biggest sector is the financial services sector. And I think that it has been proposed before that a proportion of bank PAT or a proportion of even listed company PAT goes into healthcare. Why? Because if anybody in those banks get ill, they still need Nigerian healthcare. So these are some of the solutions that I've thought about in terms of budgetary allocation, number one, which is hard to do because I know the economic situation in Nigeria. I also studied economics after medicine as my second degree, so that might not be feasible. But looking at some of the sources of money that we subsidize other things and diverting them to healthcare, as well as looking for new sources of money like the 1% of PAT and the airtime. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very much. Can we get the next submission, please? Thank you.
Good afternoon, Your Excellency. My name is Lai Are. I work for a company in the transportation sector, and I'd like to speak. I've read the APC manifesto on transportation, and it's quite interesting. but I think that we need to give a lot more importance to transportation in the government. Without transport, nothing happens. Everything else stops. We saw what happened during COVID, and we can see the importance of the sector. People think that aviation is for the rich people, but if we require investment, in Nigeria, we must have a vibrant aviation, maritime, and rail sector. We need to put all this together, and one of my experiences has been both in private, in government, and seeing how things are done. And I think the critical thing is to have an office that coordinates infrastructure in the presidency. So you have different ministries. You have Ministry of Transport, you have Aviation, you have Power, you have everybody working around. But there needs to be some serious coordination as to how do you intend to bring these things to fruition? Where are you going to get the money from? How is the rail going to fit into the airports? How are the ports going to fit into the rail system? So we have a Lekki port. We've not thought about how we are going to take rail to the place. We're still thinking about roads. We have airports that are not served by rail. All these things are the critical aspects of infrastructure. We're building so much rail infrastructure, but we are not building infrastructure that is going to take the containers off the road and onto the rail system. So we're building a rail system for passengers. All over the world, the major contributory to rail is cargo. So we must build the appropriate infrastructure to take these things off the road and take them into inland container depots and then feed special economic zones around these things. I always say that Nigerian businesses are overtaxed. We need to find a way to create growth in the industry. We must create growth. And the only way to do that is to find means to create alternative funding mechanisms for us to build infrastructure. And the last thing I would like to speak about is ownership. One of the major problems of roads in Nigeria is lack of ownership. We need to have ownership on roads. We need to have operations and maintenance contracts, whereby when you finish building a road, you hand it over to a company to operate it. Some might not be able to be told. Some might look at adverts and many other things. But the critical thing is that you must have ownership, whereby somebody doesn't wake up in the morning, damage the road, and walk away. We must improve our transport infrastructure. Our transport costs are one of the highest in the world. We have an infrastructure gap of about $100 million every year. We need to think about how we are going to fund it, but we must fund it with a mechanism that ensures that those infrastructure deliver returns back to the people. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for your contribution. We really would love to hear from all 12 people that have indicated. So we'd like to encourage you to please keep your contributions as brief as possible. I know it's hard, but please let's try and keep it within 2 to 3 minutes each, please. Thank you.
Okay. Good afternoon, Ashiraju. My boss, Mr. Governor, my name is Tejumola Abisoye. I'm the current Executive Secretary at the Lagos State Employment Trust Fund. We've read the manifesto and we believe that we have something to add. By committing to being a part of that process that builds the youth empowerment and youth employment opportunities in Nigeria, we have been able to support businesses, micro, small, and medium enterprises by providing access to affordable financing for growth so that they can leverage many value chains in the bigger businesses today, places like Paga and other businesses. We also have been able to provide skills to put them in jobs that are available by discussing with the beneficiaries who are growing and need more skills, so we're able to plug that gap. And of course, by supporting the tech ecosystem. In partnership with the SA Innovation and Technology, we're able to build programs for the tech ecosystem to ensure growth, which is why Lagos State one of the reasons, deliberate efforts of the government, Lagos State became the startup capital of Africa. So we're committing as the Lagos State Employment Trust Fund to work with your administration to build the concept that would help increase youth employment in Nigeria. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, everyone. Excellency, good afternoon, and I'm signing all other protocols. My name is Buki Adibonojo. I'm an educator. I don't know if there are other educators here, but I'm sure you all agree with me that we can't even achieve any of these things without literate people. So let's go back to the education policy. I've looked at the manifesto. I've been in education for over 25 years. I'm a teacher, and I've been training, I'm a consultant. I've trained for the government, state and federal, and I can tell you that my company has trained over 25,000 teachers directly and 100,000 indirectly. So I have enough data to back a lot of the things I'm saying. We have a very good policy of education. However, what is missing is a roadmap. And I'm just going to read through the points that I put down here. The roadmap articulates, what we need is a roadmap that will articulate Nigeria, how Nigeria will achieve its objectives in education. It should clearly state the key deliverables with milestones for the country. The roadmap should clearly be crafted, should be a clearly crafted document that will optimize Nigeria's key resources and strengths in comparison to other countries. It should state what Nigeria wants to achieve with education and how they will get there. It should be used to drive two resources of production, which are labor and entrepreneurship. Factors of production is land, labor, capital, and entrepreneurship. Education is the tool to mold the resource of labor and entrepreneurship. That improves productivity of a nation and ultimately the country's GDP. This will guarantee that Nigeria's resources are optimized, and it will bridge the gap between the employers and the producers of labor. In essence, our universities can produce graduates that are prepared for the demands of a nation. So we can't achieve all these other things in all these other sectors if we don't go back to education. What are we building? We're building people and skills that can actually have the skills to do things in the health sector, in the power sector, in the finance sector. We still need people that should have that skill. So that's my own contribution. I think we need to really, when we're doing our budgets, we should focus on not just the capital projects, but STEM in primary schools should be embedded in the curriculum, and then skills should be something that we should focus on. Thank you very much.
I'd like to, first of all, start by extending my greetings to the presidential candidate, the Chief Executive Officer of Lagos State, and the dignitaries in attendance here, and all the other guests who are also in attendance here. I would also like to briefly thank Asiwaju for his continued efforts of constant engagement and discourse with varied segments of the society. I've been through the manifesto, and I think it suffices for its intended purpose. I have, very little to add, but I do have salient points to add, especially where it comes to judicial reform. I think we need to be deliberate in the appointment of the judges. We need to appoint judges, solid judges, who are from the inner bar and professors. Also, in respect to our exchange rate, I think we need to close the supply gap. I don't believe Nigeria has an issue when it comes to foreign exchange, except for the policies that we have. I think we have policies that are bad. I believe we have about 20 billion or over $20 billion that come in from Nigerians in diaspora, and very little of that is actually seen officially. We can get those flows to come in through official channels. And to do that, there has to be an incentive, because Nigerians work abroad and they send funds back to their families in Nigeria. Now, there's the official rates, and there are also rates that are higher than the official rates. Now, it could be that we need to create a window or liberalize a window that brings liberalization in respect to the rates at which they can bring in these funds into Nigeria. Today, Nigerians in diaspora, if they want to bring in, send funds back to Nigeria, they are asked to send dollars to their loved ones in Nigeria. Now, the process is not fluid, it's a rigid process. Sending in Naira is a fluid process, because when you send in dollars, it has to go through a corresponding bank, and then it now hits the bank. The beneficiary in Nigeria has to have a domiciliary account. There are all sorts of hiccups. It's easier to just send Naira. In terms of education, I do believe that there should be templates that 3 universities in particular can follow. We should pick 3 universities. In the north, we can pick ABU. In the south, we can pick UI. And also in the east, we can pick UNN. And we can adopt templates of Ivy League colleges to help stop Nigerians from going abroad for education. CBN released a report that Nigerians spent $221 million or so in 3 months. That is money that we're leaving on the table. That money should be in Nigeria. For going back to Nigerians in diaspora, there should be, I know there was a diaspora bond. I don't know how successful that diaspora bond was, but they should be encouraged to actually invest in projects that impact positively in different communities, and I'm sure they will do it. There are examples of this being done in other jurisdictions, and I think it can be implemented in Nigeria. For us to be at this event, I know that the presidential candidate is someone who listens to people. He wants to know what the people are thinking, and I thank him very much for that. I also want to commend him for displaying the qualities of a seasoned statesman, because he has implemented moderation where necessary and courage where necessary. And my prayer for him is that he continues to do so. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. The next guest is Mr. Dr. John Oko. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Your Excellency. Good afternoon, Mr. Governor. I have been privileged to read the manifesto in detail. My name is Dr. John Olugbenga Oko. I'm the founder of Renal Dialysis Center. It's a multi-award winning Nigerian brand, internationally acclaimed. After reading the manifesto, I realized that the cardinal focus of the manifesto is on universal healthcare coverage. This, for me, comes at no better time than now, and no better person to champion it than Asiwaju himself. Listening to Ola Brown, I'm not in fintech, I've stayed in healthcare, and I'm still going to stay in healthcare. We must realize that when we talk about healthcare, the healthcare sector itself only contributes 40% to the health indices of any nation, particularly Nigeria. What we have is that 60% is contributed by other sectors. So we talk about water, we talk about sanitation, we talk about nutrition. Those are determinants of health, but they are not necessarily controlled by the health sector. So as a way of contribution, I think there is no better time for us to mandate the health in all policy. And what this does is that this guarantees equity to healthcare for everybody. Because if we look at it and we take the various regions in the country, we see that what their challenges are different. And at the moment, we know that resources to fund even the primary healthcare are not limitless. So doing policies that would ensure that it provides the maximum benefit for everybody should be the way to go. It's also instructive to note that we have to get very innovative with the way we fund healthcare, and PPP will still remain a very, very good option, because we realize that 75% of the healthcare in Nigeria is still provided by the private sector. And as such, I must even thank Mr. Governor for what he's doing in Lagos State now regarding health sector. They're very, very proactive. What they've done is that they've taken the tertiary institutions, and by the grace of God, that is controlled by the federal. But the state one, they've taken it and they've decentralized it. They've allowed for private care providers to come in, to come and partner with the government. What this does is it subsidizes the cost of healthcare. It ensures that the common man on the street that uses the public sector hospital can have access to healthcare. So we realize that we have all the tertiary teaching hospitals, which are federal government owned, and the federal medical centers. We can actually take our mind off that and leave our funding for the primary health care, while we allow the private sector to fund the tertiary services. By also way of innovation, we also realized that during the last pandemic, it gave an opportunity to see that healthcare is actually an economy. A lot of us only look at the creatives and think that's the only big thing that can come out from here. But I can tell you, if you look at all the countries that use medical tourism as a source of revenue, it goes beyond just the medical treatment. It's a whole value chain. What we've also seen is that during COVID, most of the things that we use are actually imported. If we actually build the economy around that, we'll realize that a lot of people will be gainfully employed. We'll realize that our dependence, even on dollars, to get all these things will be reduced, because most of these things we produce locally. Finally, I also read in the manifesto that one of the things we're doing is to get ready for the next pandemic. I would not do justice if I don't speak on behalf of a lot of Nigerians who actually are dependent on my industry. So we know that non-communicable diseases happens to be a looming pandemic on its own. So it's my hope that what was done here vis-a-vis trying to ensure that screenings for things like hypertension, diabetes, and all of that are bonded to the national scale. Because in my interest, everyone to know that at the moment, it's supposed to be 1 in 10 for kidney disease. This is alarming, this is quite frightening, and so it's necessary to ensure that we have policies that can help reduce this looming pandemic. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. We have only about 10 minutes left for this segment. We have roughly around 10 speakers left, so I'm afraid I'm going to have to be very tyrannical with time. So I'm awarding just 1 minute per person making submission, and we will come in, unfortunately, please. Thank you so much.
Okay, how unfortunate. Your Excellency, Ashwaju Bola Tinubu, Mr. Governor, my name is Abisoye Fagade. I'm from Oyo State. I actually drove all the way from Ibadan to come to Lagos. I'm a serial entrepreneur with my core in advertising. I call myself serial because I have a couple of other businesses, and I have close to 700 employees. I've realized that in Nigeria, the multinationals are the ones that are killing the SMEs. This is because the local content committee or council, whatever it's called, is only focused on the big companies, Shell, Chevron, and all of that, and they overlook the SMEs. The multinationals, if you want to buy a recharge card today, you pay cash. For an advertising agency to work for an MTN, NBL, you do a job for a month, you submit your invoice, and you get paid 75 days after. So by so doing, they are killing SMEs in Nigeria, and nobody's looking at that. That is very, very dangerous to our economy, because SMEs are the largest employers of labor. I'm doing cake, I have 10 people. I'm doing catering, I have 10 people. So, Your Excellency, it's important for us to zoom our lens on the local content. That is one. Let me now speak as a politician, because I also contested in Oyo State. I brought before for Senate, and I'm one of the few ones that was chanced but I still stay back at the party. I feel as a communicator, there's no way we'll be selling Ashiwaju and selling APC without having problem with the current government. I feel that we should help them in telling their stories. If we can fund the party to tell what the government has done so far, which is this government, in so doing, selling our candidates. We can't be an island. There's no way they will mention Buhari and not mention Ashiwaju. So we cannot leave them. 1 minute, sorry, ma'am, sorry. We cannot leave them to run their campaign by themselves. I think we should make a conscious effort to run what the government has done. They have done a lot, but nobody's talking because they are blinking in the dark. Thank you, Your Excellency, and I came with gift.
Okay. Unfortunately, because we're so far spent with time, we're going to be able to take only 4 more people. So we'll do 2 from that side and 2 from this side. We're sorry, but we're going to have to go technology and send our submissions via email. So if you're not able to share today, please send your submission to info@businessforward.ng.
The assurance is that the presidential candidates has assured us that every email will be responded to personally. That is the assurance he has given us here today. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm Banka Kuku, and my sector is fashion. I've been in the fashion industry now for 5 years, and I have realized after reading your manifesto that we talk a lot about sports and entertainment, and you have a lot of support for that sector. So I want to ensure that your support is also extended to fashion. An issue we have in the fashion industry is access to grants. And I know that really does stifle a lot of brands to kind of export their product. So I ask if you can ensure that these loans that you provide are easily accessible, especially to women within the fashion sector.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Your Excellency, Senator Bola Tinubu, Excellency, Governor of Lagos State, the important dignitaries, invited guests. Good afternoon. I'm Ismail Mohammed Shira. I'm here to unlock the potentialities in the mining sector, which is one of the most critical aspects of the national economic development. Your Excellency, we find it very necessary to come out and discuss issue of the mining sector in Nigeria. Nigeria has been a mining country, but at least we have to translate back to the exploration and beneficial country rather than being just a mining country. If we can look at it, we know how the mining sector was discovered in 1903. And we know how it has developed most countries in the whole world, most especially the Western world. But at the point in time, it has been neglected, has not been given due consideration that it deserves. Meanwhile, we are trying to make you understand that we are born and brought up in the mining sector. We know how very important that it's been the the highest exporter of lead, zinc, ore, and rest, but haven't neglected this sector. We find our minds bleed when we look at the potential that is inside the mining sector, and it's been neglected for a long time. Well, it's very important. It's something that we know that this government tried to make an effort of bringing mining back into fore, but at the point in time, it's going at a low pace, which is very, very disheartening, and we're not really finding it very easy. We are trying to make. I'm just trying to make to throw out this a little bit from my own experience, that if the next incoming administration will be involved by God's grace, we have to give priority to the mining sector, and I'm showing you, what we are talking about, oil and gas, will be an old fashioned. And I can assure you that After some years ago, gold, Nigeria export 1.4 tons of gold, which is not really something that I think we can be able to look at it. Despite the numerous vast resources of these items we have a lot of it, and we have granite, we have tin, we have lead, we have nickel, and the rest of them. These are things that rule the whole world. These are important items that rule the whole world. And I'm telling you from the bottom of my heart, from the best of the experience I have, we have more than 3,000-4,000 workers right now. And our company is the most leading of the export of all these items. But I think this thing has to be more important to the government than to the private sector. But what I want the government is just create an enabling environment. Should just enabling environment for the private sector and the foreign sector, just for them to come in and put in. I think by so doing, I think I'm assuring you, government will have to put oil aside and make sure that the money is. For example, I know from this place, I'm just trying to make a demonstration. I'm so sorry. It's very important. I'm just trying to make a demonstration. I am holding millions of naira in my pocket right now. This is what you're seeing. Millions of naira in my pocket. I don't run short of money. Why? Because it's very important. It's very important. And I want the government to be able to come into this sector. You will see what will happen in the near future. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Please remember 1 minute each.
Good afternoon, Your Excellency. Good afternoon, Executive Governor of Lagos State. All protocols observed. My name is Lara Rawa. I'm a business owner in the beverage sector. By size, my business is categorized as an SME. And this is my question. Considering the challenges faced by small-scale business owners like myself in both formal and informal sectors, what fiscal policies and other government initiatives are your government planning to improve the ease of doing businesses by small players like me? Some of our challenges are high cost of funding for expansion purposes, multiple taxation by the different levels of government and non-state actors, amongst others. And we're told to prefer a solution. One thing I could think about was due to the expansion of the SMEs in different sectors, it would be nice to have an office set up for SMEs, mainly as an advisory office. And this office will guide in all the setup and operational requirements to operate. It can also be the one-stop shop for settling all government taxes and levies. This is due to the multiple taxation that is faced. And furthermore, there could be also the creation of SME hubs or business centers with low setup costs where all facilities are available for SMEs across the country to operate from. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, Your Excellency. My name is Sam. I'm a co-founder, partner of HNT. HNT is the Who Creative Agency and Tempo Productions, the merger of both companies to form a creative transformation company. I'll be speaking today on the re-engineering of the average Nigerian mind through social inclusion. Your Excellency, you would realize that we are actually facing the most distracted generation ever. This new generation of consumers are people who are the most distracted right now. If you remember during the NSAS time, these guys coming to the game, some of them don't even know what's going on. You ask them, what are you coming for? And they're like, we're not sure, it's just a trend, it was just really cool. And this is what we're facing currently. And how can we just re-engineer their minds? How can we just ensure that these guys are seeing things differently and they are more included in what we're trying to build, the renewed Nigeria? I'll give a quick case in point. $4 billion sports company, when they're trying to just try and encourage the fans, what they did was that their third kits, they ensured that it was the fans who created that third kit. So there was inclusion, and they ensured that the fans who created that kit, they built that kit, and that's what the company uses today. Where I'm going to right now is I feel like what we need to do as a country is just look for ways in which we can include these people in even the policies. Look for ways we can encourage them and build and just ensure that they're a part of what we're trying to build as a country. I just want to give one quick pointer here. Look at what the NYC is doing right now. If we say that during 2008, while I was serving, what I needed to grow was very different for what this new generation needs to grow. If we look at the policies and the things that they were doing at that time, it's really, really outdated now. How can we improve things like as little as just the NYC? How can we create frameworks and build metrics that just improves that system? And if we're able to do that as a company, a lot of things are going to change. We'll just realize that we're able to re-engineer their minds, and they would grow, and they'll be able to succeed as a country. Thank you very much.
Your Excellency, sir, my governor, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, my name is Hanu Agboje. I'm the founder and CEO of Patricia. Patricia is a crypto exchange, Africa's largest crypto exchange. So today I want to make a contribution. Earlier on, my team and I, we looked through the manifesto and we were super inspired by what we saw. We saw that there was a whole chapter dedicated to the digital economy in Nigeria. As a matter of fact, we felt like Nigeria won the World Cup, because for us, that meant a new future for us, because we're in the crypto and technology space. However, we found an issue with this digital economy, and what we saw was that a lot of people, especially young people, do not read the manifestos. They do not understand the opportunities that the APC has planned for them around the digital economy. Today, the tech scene in Nigeria is around 20 to 30 million people who do not and are not aware of the plans that the APC government has for the digital economies. And we have looked across other parties to see what they are presenting, and this was by far the best that we saw. So my contribution today, really, because they say it takes a village to raise a child, that means it must take nation builders to build a nation. So my contribution today is an amplification, right? The government has already done a wonderful work by setting the stage with this policy, but we need to make sure that people hear of it. We need to make sure that the youth and people in technology, they understand that there is something in for them, so they can make good decisions come February. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, Your Excellencies, distinguished guests. My name is Daria Atalade from Live Sport 360. And I just want to submit, and I speak on behalf of the creative industry. I tell you that in 2023, awa gongon lokon. Yes. And I tell you why, because it's a low-hanging fruit that we are seemingly ignoring. It's a huge keg of gunpowder, but it's a gunpowder in our favor. And I say this because by 2025, it's estimated that the creative industry, the creative sector will have employed at least 2.7, 2.8 million people. If that's not a low-hanging fruit, then I don't know what is. If our music is being exported and enjoyed quite rapidly around the world right now, and we do not see a pipeline to bring some of that hype and that energy back to creating jobs and creating infrastructure, then I don't see how we don't see the low-hanging fruit in that. The creative industry, the creative sector is a huge, massive employer of labor. There are many companies in this room right now that have attracted foreign direct investment in many different ways. If we're talking about Showmax bringing Real Housewives of Lagos to the exploits of Ogidi Studios with the just concluded Wakanda Forever, are we talking about Are we talking about my company's involvement with companies such as Disney, Amazon, etc., etc.? It's for us to seize the opportunity. Your Excellencies, those who can speak to Mr. President, for example, and encourage him to assent to the copyright bill. The copyright bill will do so much to protect our intellectual property. We cannot continue to sit down lackadaisically and, it's not going to happen by magic. We must be deliberate. Our foreign bilateral relations with many different countries around the world, why is the creative sector not actively on such trips for us to export our culture, export our music, and export our entire creative sector? I rest my case. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Your Excellency, and congratulations on your nomination as candidate for the APC. And also, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Femi Adeni. I'm Managing Director of Agromol. We build connected agricultural communities that focuses on finance, integrated production, and processing. And we have establishments around Nigeria. I am inspired by the manifesto because I took two parts that interest me keenly. One is a focus on agriculture and also on youth development. I'll quote a little bit of numbers and also express the opportunities that I see in the two and also the intersection. The World Bank has projected that Africa's food market will grow to about $1 trillion in 2030. At the same time, the Africa Development Bank have said it's possible for about 30 million youth not to have jobs by 2030. And I see an opportunity where the effort that goes into agriculture and food production can intersect with young people. And that is why I propose that the party and the government should look at intersecting these two in what I call an agricultural option for young people. The agricultural option should keenly look at a proposition for young people for taking agriculture as a viable economic option that can give them income of a quantitative number. Say we want to produce 25% of this. We want to feed our people and also earn foreign exchange from this 25%. That is about 250 billion. And say that we want 2 million of our young people to produce this and create quantitative numbers that can support that. For example, in America, there are about 2 million farmers holding an average of 180 hectares of land in farm holding. They produce all the food that you see in America, and the one they export. I think we can do that also, and we should be deliberate and intentional about it. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm sorry, I lost my voice. Ashwaju, good afternoon. Sorry, I have to stay here. I wanted to spend less time on the candidate, actually, and wish him the best as he pursues this leadership role. But to speak to everybody else in the room and also to thank the organizers. 30-year-olds, 40-year-olds, 50-year-olds, always complaining about the country. And then when a man with courage or a woman with courage rises up, then you slowly come out. Then you hope that when they get into office or into positions of power, you get lucky. But that's not how life is. The way life is, hopefully you eat the beast you kill. And I want to speak to my friends in the room. There's a gentleman there, you're in power. Somebody here is in steel. Some people here are into protection services, some oil and gas, financial services at the back, food and beverage, health. If you need to put your company, your face, your race on the map, then stand up and be counted and stop sitting back. Enough of the complaining. You heard Mr. Governor's story. Looks like he was rich even before he became governor. But most importantly, my goodness, what kind of work are they doing? What sort of challenges how are we contributing? So I personally want to, first of all, commend Asiwaju, but it's not about him today, frankly. That he could even come out, I think we're lucky, but it's about the rest of us. A human being put up this building. He fought. You are in the building today. Don't expect to get a free ride. As 30, 40, 50-year-olds, thanks to Sheung, Idris, and the organizers, I'm sorry, I don't know who the other people are, let's support a positive effort to create a narrative in a country we can be proud of. I wish you well, sir. Thank you.
Good afternoon, His Excellency and Mr. Governor. My name is Larry Aderomo. I am the Chief Operating Officer of Myconic Lenders Limited, a micro-lending firm. Okay, from experience, there are so many intervention funds for real sector, and I'm even sure the creative arts don't know that there are intervention funds from CBN for them. There are intervention funds for agriculture, but one of the biggest problem with those intervention funds is that they do not go to where they are designed to go to. There are no monitoring. I personally supervised, I was involved in the bailout funds in 2015 by this APC government. I personally was involved from my decks, public sector debt. I disbursed to 12 states that were struggling to pay salaries. Those funds were paid directly to government. It shouldn't have been. Those salary bailouts should have gone to the workers who need it, because by the time we were calling 6 months after, a lot of these workers didn't get those bailouts. Badly managed intervention funds. So I suggest that there should be a monitoring team. Nobody monitors what happens with all these intervention funds. They are there. There are 300 billion intervention fund for real sector. Doesn't go there. We see that. If you're a banker, you know that all these things, there's too much round tripping in the system. These things has to stop. And I'm saying to you, sir, because I believe by the special grace of God, you will be sworn in on the 29th of May. The first thing you must do, sir, you must, as a matter of urgency, the structure of our economy depends on this oil. Deregulation. Total deregulation. Subsidy must be removed. And I do not want us to start thinking of palliative in terms of transport. Lagos State has the largest rice mill. We can partner with them and crash the price of rice to 10,000 naira. That will affect the ordinary man on the street. I work with market women. We give them loans. The structure, and I see that your manifesto talks about expanding the social intervention to also support MSA. There's trader money. It was badly implemented. That's what we do. Partner with us, we will deliver, and there will be impact. And that's what. Thank you very much.
Your Excellencies, all protocols duly observed. My name is Yemi Cardoso. I was the first commissioner for economic planning and budget in Lagos State in 1989 actually, when Asiwaju came into power. Now, by way of context, that ministry was set up by Asiwaju through carving out something from the Ministry of Finance and also from the governor's office. And it was the first of its kind. Happily, so many years later, practically every single state in the Federation has followed that model. And I want to say that it made a difference. And let me explain to you why. And this is really what I want to talk about. The power of execution. It is very, very easy to talk, have nice conversations, and then things fall in between the cracks, which quite frankly, is what is more typical in government than otherwise. I can see people nodding their heads, very vigorously there. Falls in between the cracks. In Lagos, a system was set up whereby different multi-stakeholders came together, public, private, not-for-profit, donor agencies, international agencies. They went into a system whereby they collectively agreed what the priorities of the state were going to be. And they didn't just leave it there. They published what the various issues were going to be, 12 items, for example, and at the end of the year, they will come and account for how many of them had actually been done. This is where the likes of Blue Line, which Mr. Governor spoke about here today, the Lekki Deep Sea Port, the Free Trade Zone, the Link Bridge, a whole host of different items. This is where they came from. I can assure you that that process was extremely rigorous and involved the private sector. It was all-inclusive, all-inclusive. It's not an easy thing to do. The Blue Line, for example, that started so many years ago, honestly, it is commendable that today we are seeing the result of it. Many times you won't see it. I'd like to use this opportunity also to commend Lagos State, Mr. Governor, that today, and Ashiwaju, who started the process, that today, as at the last count, because I am in the private sector, recently the Mbeti summit that they have, and they achieved a milestone of 20 years of continuously doing this engagement. 20 years. I was invited there to represent the private sector because every year it's government and private sector that chair and co-chair. On the 20th anniversary, I was invited to co-chair that particular event. And a lot of my colleagues, I was in the banking industry from Citibank, were also very, very much part of that process. I was extremely delighted that out of 235 resolutions since the advent of that particular summit, the state had successfully able to complete 212. That is about a 90+% completion rate. These things took time, they took effort, and they show the resilience that exists when public and private sector come together and decide that they want to achieve certain objectives. That is a culture that is very, very, very conversant with in Lagos State today. I have absolutely no doubt in my mind that if such a model can be replicated throughout Nigeria, we'll be in a much better place. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you very much, Dr. Cardoso. Thank you to all our distinguished speakers. There's a gentleman who I'm going to invite to the stage now. It's a bit off script, but I've learned in almost every conversation I've had with him, at least one nugget about life and business. So I'm calling you out, Mr. Wale Tinubu, my Egmo. If you could just drop a few of those nuggets for us, we'd be very grateful. Thank you, sir.
My Excellency, the Executive Governor of Lagos State, well, I assure you, you're not in public office yet, so we'll call you in the order of protocol last, after the distinguished citizens here present. However, as the candidate of the All People's Congress, I must say that I've never felt comfortable enough to speak, because I run a public company. This is our head office, by the grace of God. And I've always felt that in life you achieve inflection points. Now, as individuals, and I'm speaking to everybody from the heart here, maybe your inflection point was your first exam, your first major exam, your university exam, which set you up, because you're all professionals, you're all business people. Your second core inflection point may have been your choice of a spouse as to who you will marry. And your third inflection point as successful business people, which you are, because you would not have been in this room if you were not successful, is your career choices and what you do on a daily basis to make it work. Similarly, in a nation state, there are inflection points. And without a shadow of doubt, everybody knows there's incredible greatness in each and every one of us individuals here. And this is replicated over and over and over. We're just a simple microcosm, a simple substructure, or a simple iota of the greatness that exists in this country. But what holds us back is always the leadership of the country. But guess what? As simple as everybody knows that the leadership is the most critical issue facing the country, we're always too scared to stand behind it. We're always too scared to stand up for it. We always want to pass it on as somebody else's responsibility. Now, I've been through many inflection points in my life. I've been through a very challenging commercial world, okay? And I fought and I fought and I fought. Ashwaju bought me my first computer. Ashwaju took me on my first business trip to China. You probably can't remember. I remember in China, we stayed in the hotel in the lobby, and we stayed late, and I went to sleep very late, and I woke up at 7 a.m. and I was 5 minutes late, and he tore me apart for being 5 minutes late for the meeting. Ashwaju was my first client when I was a lawyer, before I went into business. The point is this, is that Ashwaju is somebody who has energy, an incredible amount of energy, okay? Whatever you see, okay, is a percentage of the energy he has. He has the energy to energize others, like he has created a followership that is beyond the comparison of others. And look at the other candidates who has created a national followership of his level. He's created a followership that touches every aspect of society. Ashwaju left a comfortable job in ExxonMobil. I used to go see him every day when he was a treasurer. And when he said to us that he was going into politics and wanted to be in the Senate, we thought he was crazy. That why would you leave this comfortable environment and want to do this? And he wanted to make change. He wanted to do something for the betterment of society, something greater than him. A leader takes you to places where you are scared to go. He chose first and foremost to be his own leader, to step out into the world and do something. Now, he has a vision, and that vision has been clear from the way and manner his political career has evolved. First of all, in the SDP, then into the AD, then APC and everything. He stayed in one political party. He stayed focused on one goal. From creating that vision, he created a team, and that team stands out here, okay? Stands out in our society as exceptional political successes in every aspect and regard which they do, okay? He created a strategy for a state, which whether you like it or not, the reason why we stand here and we do business here is because it's a great place to do business. It's 60% of the GDP of the country almost, okay? But somebody sat down. Somebody said we would do the roads. We don't have a lot of cash. We will do them year after year. Somebody said we will fix the school. Somebody said we'll fix the hospital. Somebody said, I remember even the expressway when the federal government wouldn't fix the road that leads to the airport, which was an eyesore and every single businessman committed. I thought to myself, why is this man stressing himself to saying that he wants to take over federal roads and start building them? And he did it. Now, having created that team, okay, he has executed consistently, okay? He has executed in a way and manner that the results speak for themselves. I feel that the choices we have to make as we go forward into our nation, some people have mentioned, subsidies, why are we spending $1 billion on fuel? We should be spending it on, why do we have an exchange rate? One is 400, one is 800. You know, why do we have power that doesn't work? We know that there are cracks across the board, and what it takes is the political conviction. First and foremost, you cannot win in Nigeria if you don't have a heart, right? So you need to back a leader that has heart. You cannot win if you don't back a leader that has knowledge, okay? You cannot win a leader who doesn't give up. Very, very stubborn uncle of mine, incredibly stubborn. You know, I will even say to you, I remember when the case was on regarding some of this funding that was seized. I did that case in Chicago. It was one of my first legal matters. And I fought and fought and fought regarding it, and I tried to commit him to settle. And he kept saying, no, I'm not going to settle, I'm not going to settle. I haven't done anything wrong. And I said, the difference is the US government has tons and tons of resources, and they will keep you in court forever. You have a career to focus, so please settle. Okay? I've seen him go through courageous battles, be the last man standing like he was in Lagos State. Okay? The rest of the Southwest was lost. Okay? And him, in his despair, sit down, but fight and gain back the states. The fact remains is that once again you're an inflection point for greatness. Unfortunately, I wasn't allowed into your club. They said the 49 years old is the maximum age. I passed my sell-by date. I'm 55 now. But if I were to be you, okay, and I want to be successful in life, in love, in family, in country, and be proud of my country, I will back a lion. I will back somebody, okay? Somebody that can deliver for me, okay? Somebody can give me the strength where I don't have the courage, and the courage where I don't have the strength, and somebody who will take me to the promised land, and that is Asiwaju Bola Tinubu. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Wale Tinubu. I thought it was very important to hear from you. You have a unique relationship with our special guest of honor. The only thing I disagree with your submission is you've labeled yourself as not a youth, and this is a youth gathering. So we are bestowing the title of Special Youth of Honor to you today. Thank you so much once again. For the next item of the agenda, I think Mimi is going to talk us through that.
Yes, we're going to very shortly hear from our special guest, but while we give him some time to gather his thoughts, we have a short video interlude that we have prepared for you. And Mr. Wale Tinubu actually set the tone very nicely for that. I'm sure that while strolling through social media, some of us have come across some videos tagged My Asiwaju Story, with people across various walks of life sharing how they have been impacted by Asiwaju on a personal level, on a business level, and by extension, society at large. We have created a highlight reel of My Asiwaju Story, so at this point, we'd like to ask that you please direct your attention to the screens and enjoy.
Look, Asiwaju is we're just so passionate about you. So come in Lagos. Meanwhile, others for their sake, small problem, they want leave their state. Who they want to leave? Now, Lagos State, even though the tribalism, you must select. Outside they enjoy life, people they enjoy, Calabar they enjoy. Nobody when they enjoy for Lagos. They in the tribalism.
I believe that the blueprints that Asiwaju made in Lagos in various sectors, including building the IJR base, where a number of governors did come to visit Lagos, regardless of their political parties or affiliations, and was willing to open the door and let us teach them or show them what we did in Lagos State.
And the Electronic Documentation Management System, as time to be corrected, was introduced first in Lagos State by Asiwaju Bola Tinubu.
Lagos State never owed salaries throughout his tenure, not even after.
Actually, it's not someone that because you work for him and you cannot drink water. You know, it's not like a boss that is when you stand like a statue. You're free, you know. Like I said, the first time I met Asiwaju was in 2001. That's 21 years ago. And my immediate impression, remember there's a
power distance now. I was a young kid, I was 16, and Asiwaju was the governor of Lagos State. He related to me as if I was his son, in quotes.
Once you know that you know your audience and doing your job now, you make it closer. And that gives you drive to do more. So we are now family members. So I feel blood running out.
And I know a lot of people at my age that can't even work half as hard as I work. Not to talk of somebody that is even the one that is even pushing me and even motivating me, and let me use the word, giving me the ginger to keep going hard.
By the time we got back to Abuja, myself, I call myself protocol. I am just 31 years old. I was so tired to the extent I couldn't wake up the next day. But when I found out Asiwaju is still having meeting with people, I said, my people will say this man is sick. Is he sick?
One great surprise again for me was that he recollected everything. And I was surprised that how could a governor can remember an ordinary citizen?
Asiwaju Obo Agbada ẹ̀ nígbà tó ní ẹ̀jẹ̀ òun tó ń pọ̀ ju títì Obo Agbada ẹ̀ ó wá fi di gbogbo ara mi níbi tí ẹ̀jẹ̀ ti ń jáde pé ẹ̀jẹ̀ kan má jẹ́ kí n kú tí wọ́n ṣe wá hospital tó ń gbé mi lọ.
If not because of what we did that time, I would have died. That is the reason why I need to say a very big thanks to him and to let everybody know that Asiwaju Bola Tinubu has a passion for health.
He understands that empowering women would create more development for governance.
Getting to last week, if that opportunity was not there, I would probably have resorted to prostitution. Apart from me, my younger sister is also a beneficiary of this same scholarship scheme.
I would like to give kudos to Asiwaju Bola Tinubu and Senator Oluyemi Tinubu for creating the one-day governorship platform.
I'm very, very glad that we were given the opportunity to be able to live our separate lives, all thanks to God in the life of
Asiwaju Bola Tinubu touched my life, and I pray I always put it in mind to give back as much as I can, touch other lives just like he did to me. This is my Asiwaju story.
It's funny today that I'm talking about him, a man I have only met.
Thank you very much. My Asiwaju story was organized by the conveners of this event, H&T Business Forward, and it's also available on myasiwajustory.com. You can find other videos. This is just a compilation of a few of them. You can find other videos on the website. It's also available on YouTube, on Twitter, and on Instagram. So if you have your Asiwaju story, if you have some suggestions, experiences you've had directly with the Asiwaju, or indirectly, in fact, please reach out to those handles. I would now like to move on to the next item on the agenda. It will be remiss of me to try and introduce even more than what Mr. Wale Tinubu has done. It's next to impossible. The only thing I can add is the news that I'm working on a project. It's just a small project which will be published soon. At the start of the primaries, I noticed how much mileage Asiwaju had been doing, traveling around, from state to state, all over the country. And one of the, I suppose, political items, in this season has been a question about fitness and strength and ability to do the work. So I decided to do a little comparative analysis of the three main candidates, just to see how much legwork they have done, over the last 12 months since the primaries began up until this point. Can anybody guess who came third? Can anybody guess who came second? Do we have a consensus on who came first? Are we sure? Okay. Yeah, right. The figures will be published very soon, but the mileage that Ashwaju is still able to clock, I think Mr. Governor mentioned where, was it 16 countries in 18 days? In 18 months, beg your pardon. The energy, the passion to deliver remains as steadfast as ever. So it is a real pleasure to ask to address us today the most energetic candidates, the most hardworking candidates, the most passionate candidates in this political race. Please put your hands together for His Excellency, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu.
Thank you very much. Please have your seat first. Come on. You put this there. Take it that way. Thank you very much. Your Excellency, Mr. Governor, proud of you. I'm glad this afternoon I have no regrets. You are one of the youths. You can't deny it. To all of you, I don't know whether you still have appetite for your meal or not, but I'm very, very pleased to be here, to be a listener, to be a hearer, to equally absorb. All of you here, what will be your inheritance in a nation that is yours? It is clear that you are determined to get. It is clear that you believe in yourself. Self-belief is one. Patriotism is the other. That is the nation. If we want, we get together that among you, you are not solely business leaders and chief executive officers of some private companies, but by virtue of the business ventures you run, you are deeply invested in the future and well-being of our country. I'm very proud of you. And we should be proud of that. Now we ask you, how do we create the path that will get you to a prior destination where you become comfortably independent of a can-do society? I've listened to you. I think after that, what I intend doing is just to thank you create a committee out of you, compile all your ideas, couple you into circuit breakers, and I promise I will do it if I get elected. I'm sure I will get elected. Where's your vote? Yes, I agree no other candidate out there has transferred Nigeria as much as I've done. One, I'm a thinker and a doer. Evident here in Lagos. This is a refuse dump. That is investment of a great value. This building, this site, the boys who put together, Chill, Idris, and my babies. Not from diapers, but growing up to become men. I am proud of you. It was about 1:45 a.m. The doubts sucking came in to say, are you going to be able to make this Lagos tomorrow? By the way, I'm very proud. I saw the president last night. There are a couple of discussions that we had, and we had certain things I wanted to do. Brought a big question mark to this trip to Lagos. I made a call. And they insisted. Oh, we've done everything, Grandpa. We've set the timetable. We've even bragged that you will not be late. Because we know you. What do we say to say you are not coming? Now, you have to be there, on time. Within a few minutes, I got another phone call of a referee after me. And that is good. I said, okay, if by 2 a.m. you've not allowed me to sleep, how do I make the flight in the morning? Okay, I've promised you I will be there. And if you cannot take it, that's your problem. Go to sleep. Well, we went to sleep. I'm here. I've enjoyed a bit of every contributor on this platform. I've enjoyed you. I've enjoyed listening. What will happen is connecting the dots. what we must do and what we are here to do is to reflect the symbol on this cap. Break the shackle of poverty, ignorance, and failures. Yes, electricity is the most important discovery for humanity in the last 1,000 years. I want to be president of Federal Republic of Nigeria. Then I know I have to be diplomatic. So there are certain things. Contradiction between the West, Europe, America, and Africa. Climate change. We have gas on the ground. We need long-term money to build the pipeline to get to Europe and compete and make money. Invest in us. This is the time of your need. Don't classify gas as a dangerous item after you have developed. Many of your towns, cities, and states, you are still using coal. How can you say poor country like mine? We have to comply with the same standard as yours. I won't say more than that now. I'm facing an election. So you Yorubas, gbami, wako gbare no. Save me, save me. You have to save yourself first. Diplomatically, what we have to do is break the jinx of diplomacy and tell each other the fact that this country is not poor. A country of several millions of people with our size, with our God-given resources. Okay, please, spare some of the expenditures of going to space to invest in a pipeline that will give you gas in Europe. I don't care what Russia will say. I want to compete. We have the money in the ground. What I come to promise you is that this action will speak louder than my voice. Everything that I've loaded in the teleprompter and paper, departed with them after listening to you. I was talking from an imaginary point of view of the promise. I didn't know that you've done your homework, you've read the critical manifesto, you've renewed the determination to renew the hope of every one of you in this room. You are determined to be here and spend time to do something. What's left is patriotism. The country is ours. And the passport that you are holding, until you go to exile, I hope you will never again face the goons like I did. The usurpers, the military goons that petrol bombed my house and chased me out of this country and locked me up. I take the book's path. I escape them. Continue my trouble. Was strong determination. We got our democracy back. Here you are. You have democracy. Some of you were not born when we were running the street. Some of you were third class. You can't remember what we did. You can't understand why. But it is our responsibility and civic duty to remind you that democracy that we have chosen, that we have subscribed to, is not easy. But is the best system of governance that is available to humanity. I don't want dictatorship. You don't know how many people will have died on NSAS. You don't know. Yet, we still have to be able to develop those systems. We still have to be able to pay for good roads. We want the good roads. They are expensive. We cannot afford it alone. We have to establish long-term money for long-term projects. We have to look at physical policy and separate that from monetary policy. We have to get an headmaster like Cardoso. Where is he? You see there? No, don't run away. To be persistent. You can't pass a sheet of paper through him unless you have a budget head for it. Then there's no head. Then we name him headmaster. The job he did for Lagos State with him, Wale Edun and others, and Dele Alake was here, was great. I was not alone. I was with a great team, unbreakable team. And I promise you that teamship. You in a corporate environment, whether you are individual or in a corporate environment like Wale, you know what means to have a team. And the governor of Lagos State can bear witness to that. There's a discussion on the need for clear roadmap for education. There is. After we put this roadmap together and we look at it, then we will establish student loan. 4 years course, must be 4 years course. The variables, we take care of the variables. Interest rate, when does it start? When do you start to pay? When do you start to be employed? What aspect of it is to be written off during NYC? Or when does it? We answer those questions. They are questions. They have answers. Conceptually, the student loan, no one should be left behind. I've started it in Lagos. It took a while for us to debate funding NECO and WAEC. Watching the documentary, I saw an Igbo lady, not a Yoruba lady, giving testimony that she would have been the last. She would have been a dropout. It was a friend's birthday that brought her. But when I announced that we will pay WAEC and NECO fee for everybody, we debated in the Executive Council of the government. After that, the Honorable Commissioner brought back additional request. I said, what? He said, you have to pay for science separately. I said, eh? With all that is there, but we've made an announcement to the public. On my way home, I saw a little child carrying trailer in good conscience think that these children don't deserve to be engineers or doctors, scientists. I said to myself, no, okay, go back to the office and sign that file. I turned back, went through traffic. Instead of ending up in Marina, I signed the file, making sure it didn't stay 24 hours before the announcement. Right now, you see contradictions. You see lack of clarity. Yes, confusion, monetary system, no, this or that. Don't worry. The solution is here, in this room. With you, with your PVC and great determination and drive, we will liberate ourselves from the shackle of failures. We will turn Nigeria ship brand and make it a success story. We're already on the path. On healthcare, I had enhanced ability for Nigerians to pay healthcare. Yes, it's a right. but we have to solve it item by item and program it effectively in order to achieve it. You don't continuity is extremely important. How we get there? We bring the healthcare experts together, funding, yes, social program or capital program, or an hybrid of both. We must do it, and we will do it. I promise you. Need for equity in healthcare, yes, I don't disagree with that. Agric business, oh yeah. A suggestion, create agricultural options. We will. You will be part of paper that will be contributing to that. On oil and gas, grow the extractive industry beyond oil and gas, especially in other global commodities, e.g. bitumen and others. When we put you together as a committee, I'll call for a blueprint for the now and the future of the country beyond the election. You will still do that. I promise you. He asks us to double down on policy for embedded power generation. Yes, no, whichever way, by all means necessary. You must have electricity. And you will not pay for estimated bill anymore. A promise made will be a promise kept. If I couldn't keep the promise and I come back for second term, don't vote for me. That's the truth. Unless I give you adequate reasons why I couldn't deliver. And it's convincing enough. The creative sector will boost it. No small money, small loan. Ease of doing business, break the bottlenecks, form a committee. How long does an approval process stay on one person's desk? If it's taking more than 1 week, what is he studying? Yes. They sit on the file for corruption. But that is if they still have job. Not just whistleblower. We talk the talk and we walk the walk. Hospitality and tourism throughout Nigeria, we have determination to bring economic zone. I'm still echoing what I see, what I know. I've seen in Calabar that I visited about a few days ago. That is our own Miami. We can turn it to the tourism center of Nigeria. I don't want to abuse or ridicule myself. And I have responsibility to answer questions regarding why we have multiple exchange rates. I'm not CBN, but I know that will go away if I am the president. It will go away. Write it down. Confront me. Judicial reform, I did it successfully in Lagos, and I will do it again. Transportation, you will make further contribution, and you have write a promissory note that anyone will build it, and you are hungry, you won't go and break it down. You will join the campaign not to break it down. Because third-party investors, second-party investors, secondary investors, lenders, investments, they want you to keep promise, to pay your bill as when due. So the terms of the contract must be such that you are committed to pay. If you ask me to build the road from here to Ekpe, from Ekpe to Shagam, and we conduct a study, and we think 10 years will be enough to pay. If 10 years is not enough, if 10 years did the high rate, or something changed in our financial projection and the system, we go back to renegotiate. Not that we cannot rely on that contract again. It's not by fighting. It's not by breaking it down. It's by renegotiating it, realizing that we have obligation to meet terms of agreements, of our contracts, to be reliable, to be able to meet our obligations. The Petroleum Act is there for us to take a second look at. And meet an obligation. If we say cash call is 60-40, go and find the money. If you don't find the money, shed weight. There are opportunities across this country. Bitumen is there. Iron ore is here. We can easily recharge Lake Chad. It's going to be tough decisions. Why should I have 4 cars and be paying subsidized petrol for Cameroon, for Niger, for Benin Republic. No matter how long you protest, though, we are going to remove subsidy. That is the truth. That is the truth. Unless you don't, you know, and I'm going to win this election. Don't change the formula on me. I don't agree. But once Buhari keeps his promise of free and fair election, I'm going to win. And I'm going to keep all my promises to you. Why should I live as a rich man, or fairly rich man, have 4 cars, 4 or 4 jeeps, and be paying the same price for Maurice Minor? Why should we? We can invest the money wisely. When that was fashionable, the era is gone. The era is not now. Other economies are already building charge stations. We are yet to generate electricity to even roast barley. It's not comparable. That job. Please, let us do it. We can do it. We are educated enough. We are courageous enough. We are great people. My discussion today is to inspire you to vote. Vote first. Recruit many people so that the promise of today can be a reality tomorrow. And that's all. And it's only that strong determination, perseverance, and consistency that we can build a national edifice that we call a nation, that we can bring prosperity to Nigeria. We promise you, we will bring prosperity. We will fulfill your dreams. I believe you are hungry. Me, I've satisfied my appetite. I will taste and leave. I'm going back to Abuja. But please believe me, join the campaign. Hope is back here. If I say you have not made me emotional today, I've lied. You are great.
Please keep that round of applause going. Let's keep it going. Let's show that love back.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. I think I speak for all of us here to say that was a very emotional, impassioned address, completely from the hearts. You threw away all the teleprompter, the papers, and we really feel that this afternoon has been well spent. The food is coming, sir, so, but we must tarry a little while longer while we invite Hajia Hadiza Bala Usman for the vote of thanks and closing, and then we will eat. my sister, Hadiza Bala Usman.
Okay, thanks. Our APC presidential candidate, His Excellency Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, Mr. Governor, my brother here, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I would like to thank all of you for organizing this event. It's such an important outing for us to come here and engage with the potential leaders of our country. I stand here before you having 4 years to meet your deadline of 49, so I'm just borderline getting to that space where I won't be allowed to speak, but I still fall into that space where I can engage and still be able to talk to you all. Just as Mr. Governor has said, and also Asiwaju has said, the need for us to step out of the box and understand that the best of Nigerians need to be in public sector. The best of the minds the country has needs to be where decision making is. I appreciate what private sector has, but we must recognize that policy positions, regulations across all sectors are done by government, public sector. And if the best of us are not there, decisions will be taken and made that are not in line with the vision that we have for our country. So I'd like to call all of you to see what you can do to come onto this journey with us. A lot of times when I speak to younger people, I always say, I would like to know that when I'm in government, I can turn around and say, oh, Tejo, I need this done in Ministry of Finance, and I know it's someone that we speak the same language. I can turn to the Minister of Works and say, I need this road done in this way, and we can connect in that immediate level. So that is why we need all of you to come and work with us, join this work. Don't just sit back and observe and be critical. A lot of us shared some of our journey. I joined politics in 2010 when I contested for House of Representatives. At that point, I had worked in private sector, a bit of government, but I felt that we need to get into that political space and confront what exists in that environment. They could discourage you and tell you that politics is dirty, politics is tough, you're pushed aside. They push you, push them back. They challenge you, challenge them back. They try to attack you, attack them back. That space needs to be occupied by a lot of us that have content. That space needs to be occupied by people that actually have Nigeria at heart. It's a tough place, but you can exist. I always say that how hard it is for you to do your work, to write your dissertation, to do your thesis, is the same work that is needed in politics. Commitment, dedication. That commitment, wherever you are, if you have it, you will excel. So don't shy away from the political space. Come into that space, join us. Not every political journey is about contesting for office. Not all of us can stand and be contested for. But there's a whole load of political spaces that exist that are outside of standing for elective office. And you must be part of that journey before we can recognize you and call on to you to serve the nation. So please, for the younger women, for all of us that are within that age bracket, please come and be part of this. See me, I can see you smiling. It's been quite a stretch for some of us. 2015 presidential, 2019, and here we are in 2023 doing that same thing. So don't be scared. They push you, push them back. You remain in that space. And I would like to thank all of us on behalf of the Presidential Campaign Council. Thank you so much for doing this. Idris, we look forward to seeing the report. We'd like for you to have short-term, medium-term, and long-term deliverables for us, so we know within the 100 days we come into office, what are the things we need to do across the sector. Diary is a very good thing you raised about the copyright bill, which you'd want assent. We'd push for this regime to sign it. To the extent they don't, these are one of the things that we'll do within our first 100 days. So thank you so much, and we look forward to engaging with you.
Can we please keep the applause coming for Hajia Bala Usman? Thank you for the beautiful vote of thanks, and thank you for the we're pretty much at the end of today's event. All that is left now is for us to feast. Lunch is served on my right. We're going to be doing that table by table, starting with our special guest table. And then afterwards, you'll be prompted table by table to go grab something to eat. I understand that we also want to have a photo op. We'd like to ask for the organizers and conveners of this event to please just gather right here in the middle for a quick photo op. While that is going on, I would just like to appreciate each and every one of us in this room. Thank you for being a most engaging audience. Thank you for your patience, thank you for your time, and thank you for honoring the invitation out here today at Business Lunch with Asiwaju. Once again, my name is Mimi Onolaja. It's been a pleasure being your host here today, along with the incredible Tefa Tiligi Giado. And at this point, I'd like to say, please don't be in a hurry. Enjoy lunch, mingle some more, and just generally have an amazing rest of your day. Thank you. Would also like to encourage everyone to please stop by our backdrop on the way out to take a picture. Please stop by the backdrop, create some memories, and take a quick picture before you leave. Thank you.
It is about 64 days to the conduct of the 2023 election, so get your PVCs in readiness to vote in the elections. Today on the program, CBN succumbs to pressure, increases weekly withdrawal limits,